friends. It's Jamie from Play to Learn Preschool. Hope you had a wonderful weekend, and thanks for joining me here this afternoon. We are going to be talking a little bit about the best books to read with preschoolers while you're doing your gingerbread unit. So if you Google or go on Amazon and look for books about the Gingerbread Boy or the Gingerbread Man, you're likely going to find like 100 different books. And it's really tough, I think, as a preschool teacher to find a book that's just right for our students' attention span, for their interests, that has pictures that are just right for our students. You could really do this gingerbread unit like with kindergarten, first, second, even third graders, because there are so many books and so many different twists and turns and versions of the original. Hey, Kim, that you really could do a whole, unit with older kids as well. But when we pick our books for, hey, Lachey, good to hear from you. When we pick our books for preschoolers, it's important that we remember that their attention span is about 2 to 3 minutes per year of their age. So if you are reading a book to 3-year-olds, that book should last about 6 to 9 minutes, no more than that. A lot of times with my younger kids, we really can only read even for 5 minutes, and then they start to get antsy or they're not paying attention. So what I'd like to do is share with you a few of my favorite gingerbread books to read with preschoolers. And specifically, I want to talk about how I use these books to introduce some vocabulary. We did another video about how when we're reading our books, we'll do different activities to foster comprehension, and I shared some of those with you, I think around Halloween time. Today I thought I'd share a different comprehension strategy, which is introducing vocabulary through books. So I'm going to share some books with you and then also talk about the best ways to foster comprehension by introducing some vocabulary. So a few days ago, someone emailed me and said, I love the gingerbread story, but my kids are really young. Which is the best book to use with really young kids? And a lot of times I'll say just make it up and act it out or use puppets or some other kinds of props, because that way you can adjust it, to the age of your kids. But if you are going to do a story, this one is my favorite. It's backwards because I'm by myself on the selfie camera. It's by Harriet Ziefert, and it's a ready-to-read book. I'm not 100% sure that it's still in print, so you might need to look and see if it's for sale used on Amazon. And it's called The Gingerbread Boy. And I like this one because the text on the page is really simple and there aren't too many words on each page. So a little old woman and a little old man lived in a little old house. They had no children. And it's very simple. This is my favorite one to read with our younger kids. In fact, it's the one I read every time just to introduce the story of the Gingerbread Boy. But as you know, there are 100 different versions of this story. And I'll tell the kids the reason there are 100 different versions is because it's an oral story. It's a story that parents used to tell their kids, like a bedtime story without a book. And then they would tell their kids and change a little bit, and the neighbor would tell it a different way, and the aunts and uncles would tell it a different way. And so we have all these great versions of the story. Probably the most classic version is this Jim Aylesworth, The Gingerbread Man, and this one is long. It has a lot of words on each page for our preschoolers. And so I do what you all probably do, and that is just amend it a little bit and read, definitely the refrain, the run as fast as you can, but kind of pick and choose. Do you do that, or am I the only one who does that? Some of the descriptions, I'll just kind of simplify them for my students. Another one that I really love is from the Scholastic book orders, and it's The Gingerbread Man by Mara Alperin. And in this one, it's really cute because in the end, it's a baker and his wife who are chasing the gingerbread man, not a little old woman and a little old man. And in the end, I love this one. The fox does eat the gingerbread boy, or the gingerbread man, but all the animals that he chased after, the cow and the goat and the, cat, they all help the baker and his wife. How cute is that? In the bakery, so that they're not lonely. They have all those animals. So as we're reading these books, it is really good to read quite a few, just to give them an idea of the story. But then I like to use books in different ways to teach different strategies. And one of my favorite ways to do that is to pick a word from the book and introduce it before I read. So I'll say, boys and girls, in this story, the fox is described as being very sly. It's backwards, but I'll say, does anybody know what the word sly means? And they'll sort of brainstorm. One of them will be like, oh, sometimes I act sly when I'm with somebody I don't know. And I'll say, oh, do you mean shy? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, that's close. Has anybody ever heard of the word sly? And then they'll brainstorm or tell me what they might think it means. And I'll have them repeat it. Can you say the word sly? And then I might ask them, okay, we're going to read the book and find out why the fox is sly. What does he do that makes the fox sly? And they're listening. Okay, we're listening to find out why he's sly. And so I'm reading the story, which they're very familiar with, and they're getting comfortable, because we've read it a few times, each day a different version. And then we get to this page where it says, a sly and hungry fox saw the gingerbread man and licked his lips. Like, oh, there's that word sly. Can you say the word? And they'll say it's sly. Like, the fox is going to trick the gingerbread boy. Why do you think he's sly? And then some of my students the other day said, I think it's because he's tricky. I said, yes, that's right. Foxes are often described as being sly because they're tricky. And then I did that early last week. And even this Monday, the kids are back, after a weekend, and I hear them talking to each other over in the book center. They're looking through the books here on the carpet behind me. And I heard one girl say to the other little girl, remember, this fox is very sly. And I thought, oh, my heart just warms up, right? When the students start to pick up what we're teaching them and they're using it in their own in their own conversations. And so I love to introduce vocabulary when I'm reading this. So this one I might introduce the word sly. This is the Gingerbread Man by, I guess it's just illustrated by Gail Urill. And then the day after I introduce the word sly, then I might say, this book is a little bit different. This one is a book about the Gingerbread Bear. And this gingerbread bear lives in a park, in a national park. And the people who are chasing him are park rangers and campers. And who else might you find out in a national park? And they start to say, there might be squirrels or chipmunks. And I say, yes. Let's read and find out about who chases the gingerbread bear through the national park. Now, as we're reading, the person, one of the people we're going to read about is very clever. Can you say the word clever? And they all go, clever. And I say, great. Now, why do you think this person might be clever? And of course, because the day before I've been talking about sly, they'll all say, maybe it's another word for sly. And I'll say, yes, that's a really good guess. Has anybody ever heard the word clever? And, they'll think about it and give me all of their different ideas. And I do not put them up on a letter wall. Nope, it's just to talk about, just oral comprehension. And so then they're going to say, we're going to read this book and try to find out why the character, the park ranger, is so clever. And so we read about how everyone is chasing the gingerbread bear through the national park. And then we get to the end of the story, and he does not get eaten by the wolf. The wolf is not clever. He's chasing him. But he does see a clever ranger, the park ranger. And so then we read about how the clever ranger is talking to the bear, and bear, come here, I can't hear you. So the gingerbread bear gets a little bit closer, and then the clever ranger says, come a little bit closer still. I still can't hear you. And so the bear gets a little bit closer, and then the clever ranger says, no, come even closer. I still can't hear you. And so when he gets really close, he grabs him and then, of course, eats the cookie, because the ranger was very clever. And then the kids are all saying, oh, he's so clever. And I said, great, we read about him. Now can we figure out what it means that he was so clever? And they might say tricky, which you're right, he was a little tricky, but he was also smart, right? He tried to use this strategy to get the bear to come close to him. And so when somebody's really smart or a little bit tricky, we might say that they are clever. And then of course I hear the kids the next day, oh, Miss Jamie, you're so clever. Or, oh, Jack, I think you're very clever. And they're using it in their conversations with each other. And so that's one of the ways, that I like to introduce vocabulary. They're talking, my 4-year-olds, calling each other sly, or, in the story they're describing him as sly or clever. And so it's just pick a word, that occurs in the book, introduce it before we read, and then as we're reading, we're talking about this word, and we follow up with it. That's a really simple comprehension strategy. It doesn't take much planning, not a lot of stuff, to bring to story time, and it's a really good strategy, a good introduction for those students to different words. So I love the Gingerbread Man. Yes, that's a good one too. And then I just wanted to show you 3 others and give you a couple of tips. Of course, you can't read about the Gingerbread Boy or the Gingerbread anything without reading Jan Brett, right? Because she has the Gingerbread Baby, the Gingerbread Friends, and then the Gingerbread, she's a new one, the Gingerbread Family, I think. I need to check. We ordered it with our Scholastic books. But this book, this Gingerbread Baby, is a hair too long for my preschoolers to listen to. It's really good, one-on-one with a kid on your lap. When you have a whole class of kids, it's really long. So my strategy or my trick for reading this one is get a copy of the board book version of the Gingerbread Baby and then hold it behind, I wish I had it with me, hold it behind the book. So as you're turning the pages, they can see the full beautiful illustrations, but I just read the couple of lines from the board book for each page because it's much simpler. And so if you have a copy of the board book, I read the text of the board book, but hold up the Gingerbread Baby for my younger kids because it's a lot easier to read. So of course we love the Gingerbread Baby, the Gingerbread Friends, and then here are 2 more of my favorites. I like the Gingerbread Girl because the sly fox gets outsmarted by the Gingerbread Girl. So if you've never read this one, definitely pick this up. In this one, she's the Gingerbread Boy's little sister, and instead of getting eaten by the fox, she outsmarts him and tricks him. She turns the tables on the fox. So I love to read this one to the students, and they're of course like their eyes are really wide, like, what? He didn't eat the cookie, he didn't catch her. And then the other one, it's really long, but my students they adore this book, and it's the Gingerbread Pirates. And this one, it's this whole ship full of gingerbread pirates that are made by this little boy and his mom. I'll show you this cute little picture. And see, he and his mom are making, you see that? All these gingerbread pirates. There's one who's lost his leg, and he's got like a peg leg made out of a toothpick, and they get eaten, or they almost get eaten by Santa. And so, of course, this one ties in really nicely here at the end of December, and the students love this book. I actually have this one on CD. I order a lot of books from Scholastic. They've got such good selection and prices, and so I like to put, these are actually sticky CD pockets. You can get them like at an office supply store. You can order them from an office supply store online. And so these are sticky CD pockets, and then I just put the listening center, I just stick it right in that pocket. So they will sit and listen to this right behind me, either with headphones or just put it in the CD player and sit there and listen to it in the book nook. So this one is another keeper. My students, I had a little boy, he's in first grade now, but when he was in preschool for 2 years, after that first December when I introduced the Gingerbread Pirates to him, then honestly, every day from that first December when he was 3 until he left to go to kindergarten, every single day he would say, "Can you read me the Gingerbread Pirates?" It was like April. "Can you read me the Gingerbread Pirates?" And I'd pull it out of my, my thematic books, and we would read it. I ended up giving him his own copy because he loved it so much. And he's still every day, "Can you read me the Gingerbread Pirates? Hey, Miss Jamie, can you get out the Gingerbread Pirates?" So that book has a special place in my heart. Anyway, like I said, there are hundreds, really, of books about the Gingerbread Boy and the Gingerbread Man. These are a few of our favorites. And I would just encourage you that when you're reading the books to your students, to just think of some way that you could pick out a vocabulary word, introduce it to your students before you read the book, read it together, and then at the end, talk about that vocabulary word in terms of how it occurred in the book and how it described one of the characters or some of the action, because that's a really great strategy for our youngest students, and it just makes them smarter and more ready to go to school. So I hope you love reading to your students as much as I do. I hope you have a wonderful day playing and learning with your kids. We will be back tomorrow. I'm not sure if Gemma will be here tomorrow for the video or not. I forgot to ask her before she left today. But we're going to talk about some different retelling ways to retell the story of the gingerbread. Oh, I haven't read the Gingerbread Cowboy. Oh, I have to get that one. Thanks, Tina. We'll talk about some different ways to retell the story of the Gingerbread Boy. Later this week, we're also going to show you the centers that we have set up on our tabletops this week. And I have more of those addition and subtraction finger plays and poems to share with you. I know I did 5 a couple of weeks ago, and I said I actually have like 15 of these, so we'll do them in groups of 5. So I shared 5 a couple of weeks ago, and then I'm going to share 5 more of those with you this week. So have fun playing and learning with your kids. Thanks for watching, everybody. Yes, hey Wanda, plumbing is done. That's the craziest thing. Outside, you know, we had these like 5 massive holes in our yard, and then on Friday when they were finished, they must have like cut the grass and like a piece of sod, so they filled up the holes, just put the grass right back on the top, and you can't even tell there's anything wrong with my yard. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, so our plumbing issues are all resolved. Thank you for asking. I love that you guys know so much about me and so much about our school that you would think to ask that. So thank you so much. Have fun playing and learning with your kids, and we will see you back here tomorrow. Bye, everybody.